Hello and welcome back to Bongapore. By now, you know that we talk to everyone about almost everything. I had a heart-to-heart conversation with a community leader that has an embedded vision for the community that he serves. We left no holds barred. Watch. Habari gani, Alex? Vipi?
Salama, karibu sana.
Asante, thank you so much for having us in your home.
Thank you for coming. I appreciate you coming over.
You wear so many hats. You're like a jack of all leadership, but a master of none.
I'll only differ that I'm a master of none, because I do know that inside my heart I have a call to serve, and I've served quite well in our community, and I bet the response that I've received from people from all kind of spectrum of our community, from church leadership to the community leadership, has all come because of integrity. I feel strongly when we settled here, perhaps about 20 years ago now, the Kenyan community that we have become to be known as had a void of. There was some missing of direction. And when you have that call to want to create structures.
Sometimes in August last year, I approached you to be a guest in my talk show. I had just written an article about Trump.
Yes.
Which you declined because you told me that you were not comfortable with the subject. And now you're here and you want to ride on this subject. Why the change of heart?
Like anybody else, I didn't think he was serious. The media portrayed him as lunatic, even though he had the popular uprising on the new conservative, perhaps even more Tea Partiers. So I didn't think it was a candidate that needed our involvement, but today he's a different, as you know, he's the nominee.
Trump has been known to say that he will deport Kenyans as soon as he's elected in office, starting with our president, Barack Obama. What is your opinion on this whole fracas?
Well, we ain't going nowhere. We can't leave. Too late. Let me say that I have not heard the pronouncement directly from him, but I've heard those notions from the media and the public. And it's very unfortunate if he does say that. But from the previous pronouncement, I will not be surprised. He clearly seems like he can say that. And the Bible tells us, whatever is in your heart, the mouth speaks.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if he has said that, that's truly what he thinks.
In light of recent political fanfare, migration threats, and also threats to a certain religious group, I think Americans are not aware of a mass that builds and sustains this community, especially migrants from Africa. As a first-generation migrant, what do you think the people of America ought to know?
Two things that comes in mind when you say that, Shiro. 20 years in my experience in this country, Americans will always choose positive optimism rather than fear. So those that are trying to create fear about religion and immigrants would not see the light of the day. I can tell you that for a fact. This economy is immigrant driven. We as Kenyans, or Africans for that reason, have started engaged seriously about the economies different part of the economy of this country. We're investors. We are service-oriented. In this part of our diaspora, if you look at the composition in the medical industry, in this part of this diaspora, you find Africans participate virtually in every medical facility. Look at your name tags from the doctors, nurses, CNAs, assisted livings. That's one sector that we have really gotten involved. We have involved in school teaching. We have quite a number of professors ranging administrative. If you look at the Arlington and UT area, where we have our fathers who came by the airlift that was started by Tomboy in the 60s, that brought in Obama's father. We have a lot of those that came in, and they have produced quite an academic history. But for those that may doubt our ingenuity and our potential, they only need to look at the pattern and the growth and where we are in the industry. And it's unfortunate that we sometimes are mistaken because of our accent. There are those that may think that our slow speech is an indication of our content of our minds, but I can tell you the best scholars, the best thinkers, solution solvers, people who solve problems come from the part of Africa. We're the drivers of the economy, and the cities have started recognizing that.
Yes.
It's unfortunate, I don't know whether you followed the issue of Hinga, the man who set up a repair shop in just at the heartland of Dallas downtown since 1976.
He tried to save that, and that city wouldn't.
We tried as a community, we fought. But it's unfortunate that the zoning and the power behind the city fathers was too much for us. But this clearly indicates we're here to stay, and we have a purpose, which I think our people are fulfilling it directly and with a very good mandate.
What is your legacy, and what is your 100-year vision, and how does it fit in people's expectations?
Long journey starts with one step. That's my style. I'll leave it to those that will write it, if there's anyone who will write it. But I want people to let me be remembered as a person who came and made a difference within the immigrant communities, especially from Kenya. Trouble them enough to see their potential. And I was inclusive. Everybody matters. Any person who's come here, regardless of what part of the country, of our country they came from, any tribe, we must be the solvers of issues that befell Kenya today. It is time for us to start writing and telling our stories. It's too much for us as students to study in colleges about African history that is Eurocentric.
Yes.
We need to start writing about us. So I'll leave it that to those that will write if we get a space. And again, I don't know what people expect of it, but I think a long journey starts with one step. I take a day by day, doing the right, make sure that I'm doing the right thing, showing direction where I think I should. But I want to be remembered as a person who came out and challenged our mindset in business, especially. Their stereotype fear that a lot of people come and get this cultural shock, if I may, that kind of inhibit them from getting their whole full potential in this country. So I want to be that person who stood and said, you know what, we can do it.
But still maintain our culture, our language, our tradition.
Absolutely. We do not have to sacrifice our cultural and our languages, our identity. We actually cannot achieve as much if we lose our identity. History also, and especially those that are, if you look around this country, we have China towns, we have the Mexicans or the Hispanic who continue to propagate their own language even when they're born here.
The Korean towns.
The Korean towns.
Indian.
What is it about Africans that when we come here we think we can fuse in and forget who we are? You know, the greatest philosophy that we have from Africa that was done by Bithi when he was writing about African socialism, he said, you are because I am, and I am because you are. That is the driving force of our culture. We must maintain that. If we must serve in elective positions in this country, we must remain our identity.
And with that force to reckon with, I think we should have some kind of representation in sectors of...
Absolutely. The thing that will drive us moving forward, and this is maybe one of the things that I want to be remembered, is to translate our lessons that we have learned when we came here to our children who are perhaps more bona fide to go for elective positions. And even those of us that are first generation, they have legal status.
Yes.
We want them to get in elective positions. The only position we cannot take in this country is the president. I think the vice president, the speaker of the house. But any other position, we had the last governor of California, that Phil Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was born in Europe, and he came in and settled and worked as a student and wanted to come. So we really can do it.
What is the biggest risk you've ever taken, and what made it risky?
Many of them. I talk about this most of the time. I think about my two boys when I left in Kenya. They were very small. I still struggle to look at their faces today and tell them the fears and the risks that I took when I took the first flight out of Kenya. And every night I thought about them. And as the community changed, my fear and my risk grew bigger. I've never recovered completely from the fears of that risk. But I'm glad that I was able to work around my stuff and we got implemented. I also had a very good job, by the way, in standards. I was working for one of the biggest companies in Kenya then, with a good pay, and I decided I would leave it. And when I came here, I really didn't have anything to do as per se, other than going to school and struggled through with small jobs. And I can tell you many times I felt I want to go back. But I had to convince myself it is the right thing to do. In the process of our community leadership and empowerment, I have had to make some crazy comments which have been very risky, even to my own status. I'm one person who have talked about people upgrading their legal status in whichever means they have to do. One of the things that our people must do when they come here, the first thing they want to do is to make sure their status, their legal status, are as current as possible. Whether you're a student, whether you're a visitor, there's nothing wrong to visit and go back home if you must. But if you must stay on for whatever reasons and purposes that you want to go, get your status
in order.
Chairman
of the Kenya Diaspora Advisory Council, we know that is a leadership role that you take very seriously. We know there are a lot of things that come with it. Tell us, what goes into all this?
Good question. The Kenya Diaspora Organization, or what they call Advisory Council of Texas, has really opened up quite an amazing frontiers for me. And I've had such a wonderful opportunity meeting with different dignitaries. And I work together with other organizations that have similar missions, like East African Chamber of Commerce. You're very familiar with it. The Kenya Diaspora Sport Organization, and many other organizations that are within the diaspora bodies. One of the things that I must tell you behind the scenes that are amazing is the communication between prospective investors or political leadership from Kenya across the Atlantic coming over to America, and the communications that goes behind the scenes until we make it happen. So we have had to host quite a number of dignitaries. I've met the list of who is in Kenyan politics, business people. The previous year, August 8th, we had a wonderful experience of hosting the president. He was the first, and he still is,
right,
the first sitting president of our republic, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. His Excellency coming here in Dallas for the first time in an independent country. So it was an amazing experience. And seeing the simplicity of this man and the power behind it, and I mean, these are things that a lot of people don't know what it takes. It's a lot of communication, portraying our communities as the benchmark, as a prototype diaspora for the rest of the diasporas within. And we are competing between other major cities that have as much Kenyans who are as equally qualified.
right.
But Dallas has continued to be a prototype and an exemplarily wonderful community. And no wonder then we had a chance to be visited by head of state. And I'm excited about the future.
Looking good out here, Alex.
Oh, yes, I am. Thank you.
So, how are you feeling? How does it feel to be out here on such a lovely evening?
Free, no cell phones, just relaxing with my homeboy. This is what I do every Friday.
Okay.
Every Friday in the afternoon. After a whole week of cell phones and conversations and big flow in the office, this is the only time. This is my me time. And it feels good. I love nature. Love watching birds and eating the birds, and just the beautiful greens are just
Great.
I feel closer to God when I see this.
I know.
Yeah.
It's very beautiful out here.
It is.
And the ambience, the good friends, you know.
I tell you what, every time I'm playing and I get time to walk around, it makes me feel and looking back where we came from and my background, it just shows the possibilities in life. That it was not meant for us to play golf, and here we are, just enjoying time and watching them. I mean, it's every time I get this, it reminds me of my background and the opportunities that God has provided for us. And,
Do you make any profound decisions in this time?
absolutely, we just get the best connection when we're playing golf. When we are out here, we make business decisions. You meet with people who have equal visions, exchange of ideas with a free mind.
Right.
It frees you from the usual noise and appointments, and you're able to actually a lot of deals. We've closed a lot of deals when we're playing.
That's what I hear.
It also gives you time to breathe. So I wouldn't regret a minute of the time I've spent the golf course.
As a leader of this community, I am so sure that there's something that you would like to tell the audience.
Two things that comes to mind, and I might add them maybe 3 or 4. One, I want all Kenyans that have settled in this part of the diaspora to have a life insurance. I want people to do what they have to do to remain in legal status. I want people to remain united. We, the parents, must tell our story. We must pass our stories, our culture, and our languages to our children. This will leave them with the knowledge that we have learned from our fathers. That will maintain our heritage, and it will cross them over to the next generation. I want people to trust in God, because the people trust in God will take them another level. I want people to own businesses. Do whatever you have to do to learn and understand the system. Take advantage of the opportunities in this country. And finally, if for anything else, because one must die once you're born, you will have to die. I pray and really plead with people to have a will. Write down a will for your family and your loved ones. Not because you will die, but because you love them. Take insurance for burial or burial, which may be parts of your life insurance. And I want people to remember our country in prayers and in investment.